Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sylvain Rochon from HomeStudioLogic.com, and I'm here to help. Today's topic will be the lead vocal and how you can get that lead vocal in your face. I do believe that there's an important step that a lot of you are missing, which gives that analog feeling, if you want, that you want your vocals to be sounding like the records you are hearing on the radio. And I want to show you what I do, and it works for me. So let's move on. But first things first, I'm very excited this morning. I've got the chills. I'm saying this morning because here uh, at my house right now, it's morning and I'm having myself a coffee. Um, I bought myself a new toy yesterday. Yeah. My wife wasn't too happy about it. Well, yeah, she's very understanding. Um, but yeah, I was doing my drum tracks using a drum pad from Roland, and that pad is really a sampling module. So I wasn't getting that drummer feeling when I was playing my drum tracks. And I decided to go to the music store on Thursday. Today's Saturday. On Thursday to see if I could do an exchange for a Roland V drum that is right here behind me right now. So that's my new toy. And if you saw my video about my construction, I actually talked about that I do have an existing V drum already, but the other one is a TD8, and it's an old module. I was trying to figure out this week how old that drum kit is. If I remember, and if I'm not mistaken, I actually bought that kit used in 1995 or 1996. So it's not a recent kit. I did some upgrades on it for sure, but anyhow, this one is the TD07KV, which is perfect for me because I'm triggering drum kits inside Logic via MIDI communication. Anyways, that's not the subject of my video today. Let's talk about vocals. I'm going to be using my song called Your Smile. It's a song that I wrote for my mom that passed away in 2021 because she had cancer. And this woman was always smiling. Anyways, that's the story of this song. Now, I muted everything for the exception of the piano and the lead vocal. I already have a vocal chain on it. So I'm going to introduce each plugin one after the other to tell you why I'm using them and what they bring to my vocal mix. So the first thing I say, the subject of this video is a mistake that a lot of people are making when they're mixing vocals. And I do believe that the first mistake you're doing is not starting your chain with a preamp. In a recording studio, the console that is in front of the sound technician, it's got preamps on each channel. So even if a preamp was used while recording the track, it's actually tweaked afterwards. Afterwards, it's tweaked. So sometimes they're using the EQ on the channel itself, and sometimes they're adding a different EQ to the sound. I do believe that starting your chain with a preamp really helps your vocal to be on top of your song and sounding great. So let me show you while it's playing what I've decided to do on this particular vocal. So right now, the first plugin that I introduce is the UAD SSL 4000E channel strip. And yes, it is already set up. I do have compression, so I'm compressing at 5:1. I've got a release, medium release if you want. I've got a slow attack, and I do have EQ on board that I've tweaked to my vocals. First of all, my vocal, the tone of my voice, there's a lot of mid-range. It's set up in my UAD console when I record my vocal, that the 4K or 4K-ish around that area, they're brought down because it's really nasty. When I'm belting, it's like the E's are really bad. Anyways, let's press play and let's start showing you how this vocal will come to life with the plugins of my choice. So first of all, let's introduce the...
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget?
I'm gonna turn it on.
God, I made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret. Letting you go was the hardest part. I think of your life story.
So you've noticed probably that it brought some clarity to the vocal. So yes, it brought up a little bit of sibilant that wasn't there before I turned it on because I gave it a little boost around 8K. I might turn that down later on, but let's continue. Now I've got in second place a FabFilter EQ that I placed, and you see here I'm already boosting 8K again. But let's see what it's doing. Let's see if it's worth it.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget?
It's on.
I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret.
So you can see that I boosted it around 200 hertz, and trust me, sometimes we pull down the 200 hertz, but I felt like my vocal needed some warmth, and I decided to boost it around 200 hertz, and the 8K boost is really just helping that 8K boost we did on the preamp just for my voice to be clearer. Not that much. It's subtle. Trust me, it's subtle. But it's what we call a vocal chain. Every bits and pieces will fit together like a puzzle. So the first EQ, not EQ, but the first compression that I introduced is the 1176. If you saw my videos, you'll probably know that I'm a big fan of the 1176. So let's press play and introduce the 1176.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget? I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret. Fuck you.
So you're seeing that I'm not compressing hard. And the reason being I'm not compressing hard is because I already have a compressor set up in the preamp. So I don't really need to be compressing that hard for this vocal to sound good. But like I said, it's a vocal chain, so let's see what the next step is. So I introduced the Fairchild compressor, and why I'm introducing the Fairchild compressor is because I love the color it's bringing to a vocal. This compressor is simply incredible. So let's press play, introduce it, and you'll hear the difference.
Without you, I miss your smile. Is the first thing I saw at birth.
I'm just gonna go to verse 1.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind.
It's subtle, but it brings just a little bit more clarity. And then again, I'm not compressing hard. I'm just touching -1 right now. It might be when I sing louder, it might go up maybe to -2, -1.5. So let's continue. So yes, another compressor. So what I like to do on my vocal chain is a lot of you are compressing hard. And I often got the comment from my fellow mixing guys that I should be compressing harder on my vocal. And we all have our ways of mixing vocals. We all use different tools, different compressors, EQs, different tactics, and that's fine. If we get to a great sounding vocal at the end of our vocal chain, we won. We won. So I'm showing you what I'm doing. So the subject of this video is really, why aren't you using a preamp to start your vocal chain? That's a big question. So right now, let's introduce the LA2A that I love. One factor about the LA2A is I believe that it introduces a little bit more mid-range. So in my voice, which is already mid-rangey, is it a good idea to introduce an LA2A? I feel like the LA2A actually brings out the detail of the words, and I really love it for that. Sometimes I will introduce it to my vocal chain, and nope, let's not go there. But in this case, it really helps. So let's introduce it.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind.
I'll turn it on.
How can I forget?
You're noticing I'm compressing a little bit hard on this one.
I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret. Letting you go was the hardest part.
I'll turn it off again.
I think of your life story, feeling your heart.
On again.
Saying goodbye without.
You'll say, oh, there's not much difference. It's all subtle moves. That's, I believe, I like to do subtle moves to give it a little bit of character on every plugin so that the end result sounds beautiful. So next step. If you've seen my videos, my previous video, and I do believe you should go see them because they're awesome. I'm a big fan of the A-type multi-band dynamic enhancer from UAD. I got this plugin and it changed my mixing. It changed how my songs sound. It's such an incredible tool. Anyways, I'm not gonna promote this plugin because it's not the objective of this video. But let me show you why I introduced it.
Today is your birthday.
And by the way, I'm using a preset, vocal detail, and I tweaked it a little bit.
Today is your birthday.
I'm gonna turn it on.
You're on my mind. How can I forget? I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret.
So you probably heard that it brought my vocal alive. And some of you will say, well, yeah, you're bringing the gain up. Yeah, it's giving you clarity. It feels like the gain is going up, but it's giving you clarity. Is it a bonus? For sure. You want clarity on your vocal. All right, so let's go to the next one. So now, after what I like to do, some people will use a de-esser at the beginning of their chain, and they're going to be de-essing from that point. With my experience, I found out that when you're de-essing first and then you're going to introduce some compressors, compressors are introducing sibilant. Why? Because it's taking the loudest part, bringing them down, and it's taking the lowest part and bringing them up. So if you have some nasty frequencies at the bottom end that you're not hearing when you're not compressing, well, they're going up. So using a compressor afterwards solves that issue. Just a little tip. All right. So the compressor of choice that I'm using is the Wave de-esser. Logic's got one. It's fine. But I really adopted this Wave de-esser, and I love it. It's really, really a good plugin. So I'm going to press play, introduce it, and then we'll continue on.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget? I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret. Letting you go was the hardest part. I think of your life story.
So, de-essing is easy and not easy. Let me explain. If you decide to de-ess too much, the S's don't sound or they barely sound, and it feels like you're talking like Donald Duck. You don't want that. You want to adjust accordingly so that the S's are still present and they're not piercing your ears. That's the objective. All right, de-essing, and then the final EQ that I've got on this chain. Now, this EQ is a surgical EQ. You'll say, why did you put the surgical EQ at the beginning of your chain, like after the preamp? I discovered with my experience that using an EQ at the end of your chain and surgically removing bad frequency helps your vocal shine. Let me show you what I did. Like I said, my vocal is a lot mid-rangey. I did a cut at 2K. I've got a dynamic EQ at 4255. So for you that are new, dynamic EQ is that we're not bringing down that section of the frequency range on a permanent base. So if you make a drop on your EQ at that point with a standard EQ, well, you've made a permanent drop. Using a dynamic EQ, what it does is when the audio file gives you a spike in that area, it's going to bring it down. So leaving every time that it's nice and warm playing, then we have a spike, boom, it brings it down. So dynamic EQs are fabulous for that. Then you'll say, oh, you're bringing down that 8K that you pull up at the beginning of the song. Yep. I don't know why, but it's a fact. You boost the frequency and then you turn it down at a later time. It finds a middle ground and it sounds perfect. Just food for thought. And I don't know why. Well, it might be different now in my new studio because I did record a vocal last Saturday for a new song that I'm working on. And I'm not hearing any issues with the 10 and 11K like I'm hearing when I was recording in my dining room upstairs. There were always on my vocal a very hissing and troubling sound coming down on 10, 11K and even 12K. So I did a cut right here. And also I'm cutting, I'm giving it a dynamic EQ on starting from 1129, just to make sure that sibilants and high frequencies are not peeking in and saying, hey, I'm here. So let's press play and
today is your birthday.
I'm gonna turn it on.
You're on my mind. How can I forget? I wish that God had made you stay.
I'm just stopping again because you're noticing that I did a dynamic EQ at 200, but I gave it a little boost here. Why? Again, it's that effect of boosting and bringing it down that gives you that middle ground, which really helps your vocal. I technically right now, I can't explain to you why it does that, but it really works. So,
today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget?
all right, so now you're getting the pictures. Technically, I'm very happy with how this dry track sounds, raw track sounds. Now it's time to introduce some effects. I'm a big fan, and I don't know why not a lot of people are doing that. I'm a big fan on introducing a room reverb to my vocals. It really helps get that nice little effect behind my vocal to warm up what it's doing. So let's press play and I'll turn it on.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget? I wish that God had made you stay.
So you're getting me? It's technically I'm using from Logic the Quantec, and I'm using a preset, the Aura, and I tweaked it to what I like. And this is a reverb time of 800 milliseconds, so it's very fast. And it really helps. So on the next one, again, I'm using, I always introduce a EQ on my channel, my effects, just to make sure that none of the bad frequencies poke out. So that's what I did. Then on the second one here, I'm going to turn it off. I'm again using the same room, and I'm showing you the same thing. I'm using the same plugin, and now I've got a reverb time of 2 seconds. And this is how it sounds like. Just to show you that look at this EQ. I did a high pass and a low pass filter cut. So I just wanted to have that reverb in a certain area of the frequency spectrum. I'm going to turn it off and turn it on while it's playing.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget?
On.
I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret.
All right, so we're almost there. The third one. The third one is saturation. Unfortunately, Logic has got some distortion that you can introduce, but the best plugin that I found in Logic to create a nice saturation is the Fat FX. It's a multi plugin. It's got many things. It's got a bass enhancer, a compressor. It's got different things inside this plugin, but I'm only using the saturation part of it. And I'm also cutting the lows, so I'm only saturating between 1026 to 15597. Only there. Why? Just to bring clarity to this nice vocal. So let's turn it off and I'll turn it on and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Today is your birthday. You're on my mind. How can I forget? I wish that God had made you stay just a little bit longer, so I wouldn't feel regret. Letting you go was the hardest part. I think of your life story, feeling your heart.
All right, so technically that's what I wanted to show you. So the question is, why aren't you using preamps to start your vocal chain? I'm actually using preamp quite a lot on basically everything that I can on my mixes. Now, just to give you a good idea of what this song's all about. So, you're gonna go here. So,
saying goodbye without wanting
listen to that lead vocal, how it's beautiful in
embracing
the mix.
a future without
I'm getting goosebumps.
you.
So, Joe Gilder, goosebump alert.
Without you, I miss your smile. Is the first thing I saw at birth. The many things I loved about you.
You can use preamp on your background vocals in harmonies, which actually works pretty well. Listen to this part here.
I miss your smile.
All right, guys, so that's it for this video. If you like content like this, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and you can clearly send me comments because I do take the time to answer. You can also go on my website at homestudiologic.com. If you do a /8-step mix, you've got a free guide waiting for you on how I mix my songs in 8 different steps and get amazing result at the end. So until my next video, I'm wishing you an excellent day and thank you for watching this video.